Well, good morning and welcome to Health Talk here on AM 1270 and 96.5 FM KXBX. My name is Paul Thomas. In the studio with me today, Bill Kearney of Northlake Medical Pharmacies. Bill, how are we doing today?
We're doing fantastic.
Great to hear.
We're doing an extra show today because we're going to be gone in about a month, and we wanted to make sure you didn't have to listen to recordings. So we came in on a Friday, and we're doing a show for one of the Wednesdays that we're gone. So lot to talk about. Like usual, I'm not as unorganized as I was the first day I came back from Hawaii. So we'll talk about some things that that we've talked about before and some things that we haven't talked about before. And the first one we're going to talk about is alternative medicine treatments. And we've often been under the impression that that alternative medicines, because they're over the counter, are really safe. But we've just had, I think because the high cost of medications out there, that people are looking for something that they've heard that's a natural substance that work. And we're finding some problems with that, and the reason I thought it was significant is because a lot of these have evolved in the Bay Area, and some of them to death. So we were kind of reporting on an ABC News affiliate from Encinitas, California, that died after an IV infusion of turmeric. Now, turmeric is something we've used and we sell at the pharmacy under natural substances that works as a lot of different uses, from being an anti-inflammatory to eczema, and main uses as an anti-inflammatory. A lot of foods have been putting this as a supplement in the foods that they eat. Well, this individual had suffered from bouts of eczema, which she hoped that the turmeric might cure, but she took an IV dose of turmeric, and that was far too much. Orally, it's a great anti-inflammatory, but some substances can be both poison and remedy also, and this was one of them. The physician that reported on this had never heard of anyone inducing turmeric to the system via IV infusion, and you should never use an IV of any substance without consulting a doctor first. So that's one of the things that, because so many people use it, we thought we would let you know. The next one is the one that was from the Bay Area. The Sun Wang Wu Trading Company in San Francisco had a drug called aconite, and this woman died after consuming poisonous herbal tea that was purchased in Chinatown. And I'm not saying this because it was in San Francisco for any other reason than for you to be cautious. The woman, who was in her 50s, became critically ill in February after drinking the tea made from the leaves that she purchased at the Sun Wang Wu Trading Company. And this was in the San Francisco Chronicle and reported by the Department of Public Health. In a separate incident, a man became ill after consuming tea from a different blend of leaves purchased at the same San Francisco herbalist. So the Public Health Department announced that he recovered and was released from the hospital on March 12th. They didn't identify the people who became ill, but a lab test found aconite, which is a plant-based toxin, in the patients and the tea samples taken from the trading company. So here's another substance that was assumed safe, and there's no medicine to counteract the aconite poisoning. So plants are very potent as medicine, and if you remember in the early days, if you've read anything about the past in treating ailments, herbal supplements were used a lot. In fact, that's how cocaine became so prevalent in the early 1900s, was because of the properties it possessed. Aconite is not commonly used in herbal medicine, according to the Chinese. In some Asian traditional medicines, that it's used as heavily processed before it's used to remove alkaloids, which is a poisonous component of the aconite plant. So using herbal products, you should get them from trusted companies, recommended by healthcare professionals who can give advice on how herbal medicines react with pharmaceutical medicines that she added. And that's always been one of my issues with the legalization of marijuana. The people selling it have no idea what the reaction is going to be with the traditional medications that you're taking. Another one of these things, and we sell this product, is activated charcoal. We use activated charcoal to treat overdoses because it binds the bad chemicals, preventing their absorption into the gut. But there's a whole list of potential side effects. It can reduce the effectiveness of other medications, including birth control pills. If inhaled instead of swallowed, it may cause lung damage. It can also lead to upset stomach. The health community strongly advise people not to ingest activated charcoal, as the harm outweighs the benefits. And of course, this woman had died from aconite poisoning. Another one that you would never really realize, and we reported this several weeks ago, just in passing, is a lot of alternative medicine stores sell high concentration hydrogen peroxide as a natural health booster. And according to a recent paper that was published in the Annals of Emergency Medicine, some 300 people were poisoned and 5 died after consuming the substance. For people who follow those regimens, the instructions involve placing a full dropper of high concentration into a large quantity of water or another liquid so it's fairly diluted. People believe that that's hyperoxygenating, putting extra oxygen into your beverage, and that somehow it improves your health. But there isn't any scientific truth to back up these claims, so just don't be fooled by some of these things, and definitely don't drink it. If you accidentally take too much, it would have serious side effects. So we're finding just those 4 natural cures that can really terminate your life if you take them at these concentrations. And I forget what the concentration was. This article did not say what the concentration of the hydrogen peroxide was, but it's quite high compared to the hydrogen peroxide that we sell on the shelf. This will be old news by the time you hear it, but we talked a lot about opiates, and we talked a lot about in the past about Obamacare and those kind of things, and we just found out recently that Anthem is quitting consumers in parts of many states. The company which sells coverage under Blue Cross and Blue Shield, which is my Medicare D, and is also the plan that I have for my employees, in 14 states is one of the few big insurers that has stuck with the Affordable Health Care Plan. United Health Group, which is one of the biggest PBMs that makes the most profit, and Aetna have already exited most states, and Humana is planning to stop individual insurance also for Obamacare. So if Anthem quits, consumers in parts of Colorado, Kentucky, Missouri, and Ohio would be at risk of having no Obamacare insurers for next year. Many of the big insurers have pulled out, and you can say what you want to say about the Republicans trying to get a health care plan, and maybe that was a good thing that it didn't go through, so we can work on both sides of the aisle. But Anthem is talking with administrations to emphasize the importance of regulatory and statutory changes in order to ensure the sustainability and affordability of the individual market for consumers. The company continues to actively pursue policy changes that will help with market stabilization. The insurer has lost $374 million on its individual health care plans this year and is targeting a modest profit for 2017. They have the biggest financial risk for Obamacare among many insurers, with an estimated 8.6% of their 2017 revenue coming from the individual market. This pullout would also give ammunition to President Trump's administration, who hedged on their plans for supporting the health care program. It's imploding, and soon it's going to explode. And some Republican lawmakers in the House of Representatives have discussed quickly reviving the repeal effort. So at the same time, Democrats are going to blame any weakness in health care markets on the Trump administration. So we're just kind of looking for some stability. Anthem's management said that in order to participate in the Obamacare, it needs to see changes that beyond a state of fixes that's already been proposed by the Trump administration. So they said the company will decide whether to offer Obamacare by the plans the middle of next year. Typically, if they can't see any stability, they will pull out of the affordable health care market. Most people agree that drug prices are too high, and it seems to be getting worse. So every month or so there comes another story about some holder of a pharmaceutical patent that's jacking up the price a zillion % to make a quick buck at the expense of sick people. We've already seen the hedge fund Farnborough, who has been charged with securities fraud, and then the price gouging through Mylan, which pulled the same routine with the EpiPen. Yet there's another side of the story, and I was just talking to a pharmacist colleague of mine yesterday, and that is about how our revenue has dropped so substantially, and the people that are profiting from all the increase in these prices are the pharmacy benefit managers. The details of the way the PBMs, and this is people like Caremark, of the other companies that are middlemen, which OptumRx is another one, United Healthcare Group, and they have managed to increase their amount of profit between 1987 and 2014. These three companies are part of the top 22 of the Fortune 500, have been raking in huge profits. Express Scripts adjusted profit per prescription by 500% since 2003. It's very profitable to abuse your middleman position to extract money from all the players. Pharmacies, drug companies, insurers, and patients are the people that take the hit. Market power and kickbacks are used to steer patients to more expensive drugs. That is illegal for pharmacists to do, illegal for physicians to do, but the pharmacy benefit managers and the drug companies can do that. It's not a coincidence that two of the big three are associated with other big players in the healthcare market. OptumRx is the division of United Healthcare, while CVS Caremark is owned by CVS Pharmacy. That in itself is proof positive that the great part of the drug market is actually a representative of being controlled by just one phase. The competition comes from these huge firms that are using their economic leverage created by market dominance. That forces others into doing business with them on the terms. CVS prescription revenue from Caremark plans nearly tripled in 7 years by the merger. We can't even do business with the county. The county of Lake, which I have been in for 37 years, and I have been a recipient of providing medications for the jails and for the employees. The county of Lake, including your board of supervisors, which I'm sorry, I've asked them several times to help support me and let me at least provide a proposal to giving the employees of Lake a independent pharmacy to provide the same services at approximately the same cost, and I'm not even allowed to make a presentation. If I sound a little bitter about that, I'm very bitter about it. I was struggling with what do you do in a county that you give $35,000 to out of your pocket to keep the county going and the city going and the schools going, and don't even support you as a major caregiver in the county. So what's to be done? Because the complexity of this is just unbelievable. The reason I don't talk about it very often, I used to go to clubs and talk about it, and it's so complex that you would have no idea what I said at the end of my presentation, except we're being screwed and you're being screwed. Ordinarily, this would be a job for good old antitrust laws, that plus government regulation to ensure the creation of a real market for prescription drugs. But it's virtually impossible to determine the real price of drugs a huge fraction of the time, because there is no clarity, which makes it easy for PBMs to rip people off. So government regulations could easily ensure price transparency and prohibit gouging by the middleman. Such a policy was tried and tested with a huge success long ago in the United States. But in this, as in many areas, we've forgotten our own economic history. That would be a good first step. But it's worth remembering that the PBMs only exist in the first place because the rest of the healthcare billing system is such a nightmare of complexity. If we were to adopt a Medicare for All system or institute an all-payer rate setting mandate Medicare prices for every treatment and drug, PBMs would most certainly go out of business. Some monopolies should be broken up, but others shouldn't even exist in the first place. PBMs are in the latter category. There is no need for pharmacy benefit managers. The reason pharmacy benefit managers came into being was because the drug manufacturers did not want to regulate the pricing structure. They wanted to come out ahead, and they wanted the pharmacy benefit managers to come out ahead, and they cared little about the independent pharmacies because the big chain pharmacies are owned by the PBMs, and that makes it very difficult. So if you're one of our patients, we have recently discovered that Safeway is changing their prescription benefit plans, and we are not on the list to fill prescriptions for a closed system called Envision RX. And it starts with an I, not an E like some of you have. And we were told by a patient that if you would tell the third-party system, their insurance company, that you lived more than 10 miles away from the pharmacy, that you would be able to get your prescription filled at an independent pharmacy. And that starts tomorrow. And then we've had patients tell us that they didn't say that. They said that if you want to get your prescriptions filled at an independent pharmacy, you have to pay cash, and then you have to apply to get reimbursed. So if it looks like the bricks are stacked against local businesses, and I would challenge Safeway, CVS, Walmart, Kmart to give anything close to what our small company gives back to this community, and would think that there would be some obligation to take care of the independent pharmacies also. The other thing we talked about, and I said I wouldn't talk about it too much more, but this will be old news by the time you hear this, is opiate prescriptions are going to be limited. We talked one day about them being limited in one state to a 5-day supply. The Ohio governor, Kasich, said Thursday that this targets a place where experts say many opiate addictions begin, and they have limited to just 7 days. In addition to the pill limits, new rules require doctors to provide a specific diagnosis and a specific code. And the governor, Kasich, warned that doctors who don't follow the rules will lose their licenses. They're going to have to abide by these rules. The new limits, which have gotten the blessing of the Ohio Board of Pharmacy and the State Medical Board and the state's dental and nursing boards, did not apply to patients who take prescription painkillers for cancer treatment or to dying patients who've already received hospice care. And the governor said lawmakers and doctors can't do it alone. They're going to have to have the help of the health community. We all need to stick our noses into this. Casey's announcement came a day after GOP lawmakers introduced bills in the state and House Senate that take a simpler approach, making drug counseling and addiction available online. So we talked about that the other day, and it's become a reality. The other thing is that Governor Christie, who, like Kasich, signed into a law for last month for a 5-day limit on the amount of opiates that can be prescribed by a doctor. And Ohio's one of the several Rust Belt states that's been struggling to contain a raging opiate epidemic. So this year, the state's capital of Columbus has been averaged 1 fatal dose a day from fentanyl. And we've talked about fentanyl before. It's a powerful painkiller that they use for terminal illness more than anything. And now it's going on the market and it's described as something else. A lot of it's been coming from China and being made in other countries, so we're not sure exactly what's in that when it hits the street. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to start talking about some different items, and the first one is going to be, believe it or not, how to treat hiccups. Have you recently been discharged from the hospital or special care facility and need help in getting around your house? Hi, my name is Bill Kearney, owner of Northlake Medical Pharmacies in Lakeport. My wife Dana and I own Northlake Medical Pharmacies, and in the last 7 years, we've been offering a new service in Lake County. Both of our pharmacies now sell and rent hospital and medical supplies. So if you need a walker, rollator, wheelchair, transport chair, we will rent them to you or sell them to you if you prefer. We also have lift chairs, hand, wrist, knee, leg, and back braces for your comfort if you need them. And if you're looking for a pharmacy that has great service, a $4.99 a month generic prescription plan, free delivery service to Lakeport, Upper Lake, Nice, Lucerne, and now Kelseyville, as well as rental and sales of medical supplies, then you need to come to Northlake Medical Pharmacies on Hill Road across from Sutter Lakeside Hospital and in front of the Bruno Shops Mart on Lakeport Boulevard.
From time to time, parents occasionally ask,
is it safe for my children to participate in high school sports?
A better question might be,
is it safe for my children not to participate in high school sports?
Statistics show that teenagers are likely to be healthier and stay healthier as adults if they play a sport in high school. Participating in a high school sport builds and maintains strong bones, muscles, and joints. High school athletes are also more likely to develop good eating habits. High school athletes not only have stronger bodies, their self-esteem, self-confidence, and self-discipline are strengthened too. So insightful parents aren't asking,
is it safe for my children to participate in high school sports?
Instead, they're asking,
hey, what time is the game tonight?
This message presented by the California Interscholastic Federation and the California State Athletic Directors Association.
Vaccine-preventable infections kill 50,000 American adults each year. That's more than HIV, AIDS, breast cancer, or traffic accidents. I'm Assemblywoman Fiona Ma from California. On behalf of women in government, I urge you to talk to your doctor about the vaccines you need from birth through adulthood. You can protect yourself. To learn more about vaccine-preventable diseases and infections, please visit www.womeningovernment.org. That's womeningovernment.org.
This is a test to find out if you know it all when it comes to children. Time starts now. Name one of the leading killers of U.S. children age 1 to 13. What's the best way to protect children in a car crash? At what age and size should a child start using a booster seat? Where can you find the answers to these questions?
car crashes are one of the leading killers of U.S. children. Many of those deaths could be prevented by making sure that kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Don't assume you know it all when it comes to car seats for your child. Go to safercar.gov/the-right-seat and know for sure. That's safercar.gov/the-right-seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
All right, we're back.
We are back.
Hiccups.
Hiccups. Paul and I were talking about the hiccups, and he says, well, you know, I just drink a glass of water upside down.
Upside down, that's what, yeah.
I wasn't sure if you were upside down or the glass of water was.
It's tricky, but, you know, you get the glass, and instead of drinking from the front of the glass, you drink from the back of the glass, and then you kind of tip your head. I'm doing it as I'm going off the mic here. You tip your head down and drink it that way. And that seems to work, right?
Well, and it does. Your short-term bouts of hiccups are annoying, and they aren't harmful. But home remedies like gargling with ice water, or swallowing a teaspoonful of raw sugar, or drinking pickle juice, or drinking water upside down. My mother used to drink vinegar. Persistent hiccups are a little different thing. They're very rare, but some last for more than 2 days. Sometimes they can occur after surgery. In my second cervical surgery, I lost my whole voice, and I was told that my vocal cords would probably not function for a while because they were swollen, and I had hiccups all the time. They can occur after surgery or with conditions such as GERD or gastric esophageal reflux or pneumonia, cancer, electrolyte imbalances. They may also be due to medication such as steroids or benzodiazepines, chemo or dopamine agonists. So expect to see people using medication for persistent hiccups that are causing distress, but be aware there's a limited evidence for how efficient any of these are. We're used to seeing chlorpromazine or metoclopramide, and that's Thorazine or Compazine, and metoclopramide is Reglan, which moves things farther down your digestive tract, so you don't, so the food's not there irritating it, causing it to happen. But chlorpromazine, which is the Compazine, is the only drug approved for irretractable hiccups. Those meds can affect your heart rate and movement disorders. The Reglan, for example, the metoclopramide, can cause a tremor to develop. Usually when you get off the medication, that tremor doesn't exist anymore, but that isn't always the case. Sometimes it does. They suggest standard of practice excuse me, of using baclofen, which is a muscle relaxant, or gabapentin, which is what they use for neurogenic pain, for neuropathies, and also for seizure disorders. They seem to be better tolerated, and the only problem with them is they can cause some sedation. That's why when we put somebody on gabapentin in the beginning or muscle relaxant in the beginning, we usually start the dose at bedtime to have your body adjust to it before you go on it more often. So there is a good indication that those work just as well. Other than the sedative part of it, we think that the market is very small for those kind of patients, but when it does happen and it's you, it's very annoying. We see a lot of drugs coming on the market for anticoagulant purposes. Warfarin or Coumadin is one that we've used a lot, and then we use aspirin as an antiplatelet drug. And that's because anticoagulants work better than the antiplatelets to prevent stroke due to atrial fib. But then often we also add clopidogrel, which is Plavix, after we put it in a stent. So you end up having a triple kind of program for 3 drugs. And that's because the antiplatelets work better than anticoagulants to prevent a heart attack or a stent thrombosis or a clot forming when you put in a stent. The bleeding risk is high. 1 in 50 patients will have a serious bleed in the first month of triple therapy, and 1 in 8 in the first year. And the reason warfarin has been the go-to anticoagulant for most triple therapy patients is because it has been very effective. And it's inexpensive. The disadvantage is when you're on warfarin therapy, you have to get pro times and INR times to make sure that the dose doesn't need to be changed due to your diet or other medications that you're taking. So warfarin, although has been the go-to anticoagulant, is starting to change because more AFib patients on triple therapy to get a direct oral anticoagulant such as Eliquis or Xarelto instead, especially if they were on one before they started needing the aspirin. So I wouldn't be surprised to see those direct oral anticoagulant drugs change to the newer meds like Efit and Brilinta. There's not much information on the safety when using those. We've always said there's a higher risk of bleeding sometimes with those, and they recommend using no more than 81 milligrams of aspirin at the same time. And they suggest using clopidogrel instead of the newer antiplatelet, and that's because we have more information on Plavix than we do the other drugs. You know, we have the tendency to see when people have a stent put in or they have a cardiac surgery for that triple therapy to go on for a year. And it's suggested, just as we're trying to suggest people using less antibiotics for a shorter period of time, of limiting the therapy to no more than 6 months for a patient with a stent after a heart attack and 3 months for a stent with stable heart disease and not having a heart attack. Many people will go in just because they have some angina or chest pains, and they won't need to have, they will not have had a heart attack or a stroke, and they can go in and put a stent in, which is a metal screen that opens up the blood vessels so they don't collapse and give better blood flow to the heart. So after that, they suggest just going to an anticoagulant plus the clopidogrel or Plagic for up to 12 months total. So they're eliminating the aspirin. And then recommended continuing the anticoagulant for no more than 12 months and possibly just using aspirin alone. So again, you may start to see things changing. If you have been a previous heart attack recipient before, that may affect you and you may question what the physicians are doing. Cardiac surgeons and cardiologists may not want to change anything. We're talking small changes, and for something that over a long period of time will take you off some medicine. We find most cardiologists and most cardiac surgeons would rather not risk that happening and would rather have you continue the medication for up to a year because that lowers the risk. So again, it's just how medicine is changing, as we've talked about many times, and you will see insurance companies starting to. We just got a program from Partnership Health that is telling us how they want us to get more involved in the therapy of the patient. This is something that you've heard from me before, but it's becoming even greater. The people that are on Lantus, on Partnership Health, they want to see at least a 50% reduction in people being on Lantus and going to Basaglar, which is a new glargine product, a drug that's used for the same purpose for diabetes. And in many substances and opiates, they want us to make sure that we consult with the physician as well as the patient to put you on a program for alternative therapy for pain relief. They're asking us to add to the number of medications that are prescribed for the elderly that should not be prescribed, that we should take you off of. Partnership Health has every year has increased the amount of involvement that they want pharmacies to be in to ensure better health for their patient. It's very time consuming for a pharmacy to do what they request. And another one of their things is what we already provide, that is to be available other than 9 to 6, 5 days a week. So our Bruno's location is open 9 to 7, 5 days a week, and then we're also open on Saturdays. And they also want delivery to their patients, and we do free delivery to patients in a very broad area for all of our Partnership Health, as well as our private patients as well. So you're going to see more and more changes, and we're going to have more and more direct involvement with you as a patient. And it will be at the request of the pharmacy benefit managers who we just talked about earlier in the program and the request of the drug companies themselves, so insurance companies themselves. It doesn't really have to be excuse me, tricky to go through topical dosage forms. When you get a prescription from a physician, especially a dermatologist, for a specific medication, there is helping them to tailor a choice to the affected area that could be the most effective as far as medication goes, and hopefully the least expensive. Creams work well for most areas since they spread easily and they vanish into the skin when rubbed in, and they usually aren't greasy. That's what most of us prefer, because you can put it on and nobody will ever know that it's rubbed into your skin, and it's pretty effective doing that. For dry skin, we go a little bit further and suggest an ointment that's kind of an emollient, and that means it keeps the moisture in the skin. It helps rehydrate the skin, but it's going to be sticky. This is going to be like Vaseline ointment, or you had triamcinolone ointment, and the reason they use it is not only is it more effective on dry skin, it absorbs into the skin a little bit deeper. So if you have a very severe type of a rash, and we see this a lot in poison oak and poison ivy, then the ointment works. The reason we don't see it prescribed as often is people don't want to mess with it. And if they don't want to mess with it, then they end up not being treated for the condition that they're in. And for really oily skin, which you would have a hard time getting a cream absorbed into, consider a gel or a lotion or a foam. And the main reason is they dry quickly and they aren't greasy. Plus the alcohol in those can have a drying effect in the skin. So we have three different kinds here. We have the cream, which goes in easily, is effective in most situations. We have the ointment for the dry skin, which has an emollient-like property that helps hydrate the skin, but it's kind of sticky and stains clothes possibly. And then for oily skin, we have a gel, a lotion, or a foam that dries quickly and isn't greasy, and the alcohol helps dry it out. Now we have two other ones that are used very much less often for sweaty skin and somebody that's heavy set, that has folds in their stomach, that where you get a fungal type infection in there. Also under the breasts, They use powders that can help absorb perspiration in areas such as on the feet or in the skin folds. And for the scalp or hairy skin, a gel, lotion, or foam that spread easily and aren't greasy. The drug dosage form can impact the drug absorptions. For example, betamethasone, which is an augmented ointment, and they have it that's augmented and they have it that isn't augmented. The augmented ointment is very high potency. The augmented cream is high potency. And the non-augmented lotion is medium potency. So when you see somebody, and very seldom do we have a dermatologist or a physician prescribe the augmented form of a drug, but when we do, we caution you to use as little as possible of that cream. It just takes a very small amount of the cream or the ointment to go into the skin and rub it in until it disappears, and it doesn't have to be put on a real severe program as far as absorbing into the skin. You'll see ads all the time on television and radio and in magazines for different kinds of constipation. And now they have one, Mobantic, I think it is, for opiate-induced constipation. And there are drugs such as Linzess and Aptesia, and a new one called Trulance. All these meds increase the fluid secretion in the gastrointestinal tract and to help speed up the GI tract. They lead to about 1 or 2 bowel movements per week in patients with chronic constipation. Costs about $12 a day. So you're talking about $84 a month, $84 a week for something to increase or decrease your constipation. And, you know, in things like this, you need to kind of go back to basics first. We would first suggest an adequate fluid, fiber, and physical activity, and look at the medications you're taking, if it's opioids or anticholinergic, iron, calcium, a lot of those drugs that will cause constipation. These things that we're suggesting, extra fluid, extra fiber, are relatively inexpensive. We're talking about things like Metamucil, fiber medications, even fiber cereals that work. If lifestyle changes like those aren't enough, then we would recommend Miralax, and it comes generically, or magnesium hydroxide, which is relatively inexpensive, or bulk laxatives such as psyllium, because we go to those last because they cause more bloating. Or switching to adding a stimulant to a laxative such as Dulcolax. And you can buy docusate sodium that has a constipating, less constipating drug in it, a stimulant laxative such as Senna or the Dulcolax together, and you can get them in one medication. You know, I wouldn't be the first unless it's, you know, a lot of people are alarmed because their bowel movements are less. You have to remember as you age, your bowel movements are probably going to be less. As you change your diet, your bowel movements could increase or decrease. If you go on opioids or calcium or types of medication that can be constipating, it's certainly going to affect how many bowel movements you have. It's really too soon to tell if one is better than the other, but if I were you, I would try an osmotic, something that absorbs the moisture or increases moisture in the gastrointestinal tract, or a bulk laxative first if a medication is needed, then adding a stimulant if you need to. Stool softeners by itself really don't help chronic constipation. Now we're talking about something that goes on forever. So just be aware that There's basic alternatives. Milk of magnesia is one they didn't even mention, and the magnesia is a stimulant, and the milk part of it is a lubricant. So you have both of those in an inexpensive product that you can take, and you can add to those if you need to at a lot less cost than you can by getting a prescription for it. Here I am again preaching to you how to avoid paying a high cost for a prescription, but a lot of people get out of the hospital after surgery and they don't know what to do. Now it's different if you're having a colonoscopy and you need to evacuate those intestinal tracts for 48 hours, and they give you a prescription for you to do that, and you need to do that because the more the feces and other things are accumulated in your intestinal tract, the less clear the picture is going to be. The first time I had a colonoscopy to see if I had a colon cancer, they missed it. They missed it because it was right at the end of my colon, and it wasn't completely clear. 5 weeks later, I had another colonoscopy, and it was clear. Whether or not I didn't do a good enough job of cleaning my intestines out was one thing, and if they just missed it is another thing. But you always wonder when you do these things, is it going to be clear enough? And they will tell you not to drink a liquid that has a color to it because that could affect it also. So again, back on chronic constipation, though, something that happens, and typically as we age, try to use those over-the-counter things first. Your copay on those insurances is going to be high because all of those drugs are expensive. I haven't talked about this in a while, and it's postpartum depression after childbirth. And most women will be put on a medication. Many moms have baby blues for a couple of weeks after delivery, but 12% of them will develop postpartum depression, which lasts longer. I just happened to be part of that in some friends of mine about 6 months ago, and it was a serious change in the mental attitude of this individual. And you need to, the physician and the pharmacy needs to counsel women about possible mood changes after delivery, and refer them to physicians who report feeling down and anxious and unable to cope. This is real, ladies and gentlemen. This is a real thing that happens. This isn't just in your mind. It is in your mind, but it's not something you can easily control. In general, we suggest, same as major depression, to use a antidepressant. We would recommend an SSRI first, which is a serotonin reuptake inhibitor, if a med's needed, and of course the drug of choice would be sertraline, and for the least amount of drug in the breast milk if they're having breastfeeding, and consider really avoiding the Paxil or the fluoxetine, which is the Prozac. Those are limited to more adverse effects in breastfed babies, and both are linked to birth defects if mom becomes pregnant again. And the old tricyclics that we talk about, amitriptyline and those kind of things, are generally avoided due to side effects and toxicity. So, and then, tapering off the meds after the patient has been in remission for about 6 months to a year, if this is their first episode of depression. And I want you to realize that we're not trying to be the physician here. We're just trying to advise the patient that when, or the family, when these things happen after giving birth, this is a real thing. This is something you can't just ignore. And because moms and dads or grandmothers and grandfathers are probably, if they live close to them, are probably close to the patient, then you need to gear them into getting help. Some will look for that automatically, but most females do not want to admit that this is a depressing thing for them to have a child. I have gone through it with my own children, and not to the severe point, but to the point that the wrong antidepressant was prescribed. And so I'm just kind of giving you information so you can put it out there and help that person get on Zoloft or another antidepressant that is very effective and not harmful to the baby. You're going to hear a lot about hepatitis C meds and liver damage. A lot of that liver damage may already been there because of hepatitis, and sometimes you'll see people being treated for hepatitis B and hepatitis C, and they will have advanced liver disease. The number of hepatitis C patients who also have hep B is very small, and even fewer will undergo reactivation of that. But the newer hep C meds are highly effective at clearing up hep C. We normally don't dispense them. They're $95,000 a prescription. The need for patients to be screened for a current or prior hep B infection before they start the new meds could be prevalent on the kind of damage that might already be there for being treated before. We'd like to remind you that we're still giving Zostavax, we're still giving pneumonia shots, we're still giving out free vitamins to kids. School is going to be out in a couple of months, and that's your venue for getting a certificate that allows you to come to the pharmacy and get free vitamins for your children. And we also have those certificates at the pharmacy. So if you come into either Northlake Medical Pharmacies and you've heard about the school program for children for free vitamins, please come in and see us. So I'd like to remind you we're Northlake Medical Pharmacies with 2 locations for you at 5136 Hill Rose across from Sutter Lakeside Hospital, and outside the Bruno Shop Mart at 347 Lakeport Boulevard, 263-1328. Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Bill, and we'll see everybody back here again next Wednesday for Health Talk right here on AM 1270 and 96.5 FM KXBX.